Thank you. Good evening. We will reconvene the Board of Education open session meeting at 7:07. We'll have the Pledge of Allegiance led by Board Clerk Maritza Travanti. Will you all please rise?
Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our first order of business tonight is to welcome Antonio Delgado from MHS as a student board member. Dr. Tarosian, will you please administer the oath of office?
Certainly, President Hammond, members of the board, I bring to you Antonio Delgado. Antonio, do you have the oath of office before you?
Yes, I do.
And President Hammond, I'm going to request that we remain seated so that Antonio can remain in front of his camera as he takes that oath of office.
Sure.
Okay. So Antonio, just repeat after me.
All right.
I, Antonio Delgado, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California, that I will take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter. Congratulations, Mr. Delgado, and welcome to the Board of Education. Welcome. President Hammond, would you like Antonio to say a few words now, or perhaps under board?
I think when he gets down to his board report, we had a little bit of background, be awesome.
Perfect, thank you.
Welcome and thanks for joining. Appreciate it. Roll call here, everybody's in their place. We held a closed session prior to this meeting and we took no reportable action. On order of business, we will be moving action item number 8 to after oral communication. And are there any other changes to the order of business, Dr. Tarosian?
Yes, President Hammond, we request to move consent item 5 from consent to action regarding the positive behavior intervention and supports to become the first action item.
First action item, okay, then move on. Any other changes?
There are none.
Thank you. Up first is the approval of board minutes. There's 2 actions in front of you. We can take them as one vote. Entertain a motion.
So moved.
I move passage of both.
Yes. Passage of both.
Passage of both.
Yes.
So moved.
There was a motion. We already had a motion. We just need a second.
I'll second. Was I the motion?
No, Maritza was the motion.
Okay, I'll second.
No, Maritza,
No.
was it you?
I thought it was Ed.
There was, everybody came in at once?
Yeah, I thought I did, so.
Okay, Celine, then it was you.
Okay.
So you made a motion. We need a second.
I'll second.
We got a second. Okay, any discussion? Can we please have a vote?
Board Member Gilliland?
Yes.
Board Member Lockerbie?
Yes.
Board Member Travanti?
Yes.
Board Member Wong?
Yes.
Board President Hammond?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Up next, we have recognitions, and this is something that in the time of COVID we have not done, but we have some very really good employees that are deserving of recognition. And tonight we're going to be recognizing 5 great people that work in our district. I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Jackson, who will make the introductions.
Board President Hammond, members of the board, Dr. Tarosian, cabinet, and the community. This evening, we are recognizing our Employees of the Month. Although virtual, we still believe that it's important to acknowledge our employees who have given time, energy, passion, and a commitment to our students and the community. Speaking this evening on their behalf, I believe these words will come to life. Joining us this evening are the recipients and their site administrator or their immediate supervisor. So with no further ado, let's start our celebration of these fine individuals with our Director of Maintenance, Operation, and Transportation, Mr. Fernando Martinez.
Good evening, Board President Hammond, board members, Dr. Tarosian, cabinet members. It is with great honor that I present Mr. Dennis Rios as our Employee of the Month. He's been working for the district for 10 years. After 5 years, he was promoted to our lead groundskeeper. Dennis has and continues to inspire his team and others by always leading by example. There's no doubt about that. I see that in Dennis every single day. I have great respect for Dennis, his persona, his work ethics, and just for being such a great individual. I am honored and will continue to be honored to be working alongside with him. I've seen him come to work a little bit under the weather at times and still working hard and still inspiring his team. Even in those hot stream weathers like the ones we had recently, I believe we exceeded 110 degrees. He was out there with his team, inspiring, working hard, sweating with no complaints. Therefore, I just thank Mr. Dennis from the bottom of my heart for all that he has done and continues to do for our district. Thank you, Dennis.
Mr. Tom McFadden, Director of Expanded Learning Programs.
Good evening, everyone. It's my pleasure to honor our 2 guest employees of the month. So Board President Hammond, members of the board, Dr. Tarosian, members of the cabinet and our community. It is with really great pleasure that our first awardee from Canyon Early Learning Center is Karen Go. Karen is an amazing instructor in our SDC program, our special ed program, a graduate of Temple City High School. She went on to Cal State LA and earned her bachelor's and just finished her master's degree. She has been instrumental in the development of last spring's distance learning program at CELC and this fall's distance learning program, taking the lead in terms of our technology and Google Classroom and all the things that we're providing to our 3 and 4-year-olds. She does an amazing job in the classroom, full of energy, highly qualified. If you ever get a chance to come to CLC and want to see what a really great example of distance learning is in instruction, come see her classroom. It's like she's leading the orchestra with all the different pieces going on, and the kids are completely engaged as 3 and 4-year-olds. So I know that we benefit, our Kenya Early Learning Center students and families and staff benefit from her involvement with us, and we just are really thankful for the work that she puts in at Canyon Early Learning Center. And then our next awardee that I have the pleasure of introducing is from our Village Extended School Program. Eva Kuhn is an activity leader for us in Village over Monroe, but she also works at Monroe as the computer science lab employee. So she has a dual role in the district, and we're very fortunate to have her working with us in the Village program. And I know Monroe is fortunate to have her there as well in the computer lab. Eva is professional and polite and kind, full of great questions, which I never mind answering. And she is always willing to help. She's done an amazing job for us with our technology needs in creating our Village Live website. She was the mastermind behind that. She's always willing to help other employees with their technology needs in terms of getting their Zoom set up, answering questions, being patient and understanding with those of us that need some of that extra help when it comes to technology. So again, she's a really valuable employee for the district and for Village and for Monroe. So I really appreciate her hard work and diligence to the job that she brings each and every day over here at Monroe. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. McFadden. From Ed Services, Dr. Sue Kaiser.
It gives me great pleasure tonight, Board President Hammond, Board Dr. Terosian, fellow cabinet members and community, to present to you Mr. Chad Miller. I want you to think for a minute. Imagine jumping out of a skydiving plane and discovering that your parachute doesn't work. That is sort of the feeling that we had on March 13th when our school district had to dismiss and go home for distance learning. Now imagine the parachute opened. How differently would you act when you landed? Over the course of that weekend, Chad Miller was one of our specialists that assisted in putting together the distance learning platform that provided that parachute for us. Most would call Chad Miller a pioneer at Santa Fe Computer Science Magnet School. Not only was he a dynamic classroom teacher that had a tremendous way of connecting to students, he also had an ease about him that made his content come alive through his passion for the subject. In his class, it was always one of the students' favorites. He was instrumental in bringing Santa Fe along the pathway of becoming a computer science magnet school with his impactful ways of weaving together content and educational technology. Luckily for the teachers he worked with and Chad's passion for this type of interconnectedness, he was always so willing to share with other teachers. Anyone you ask at Santa Fe will say that Chad Miller is responsible for transforming them as educators. I remember one day walking into his classroom for a classroom visit, and he asked me if I knew how a particular computer program worked on a social studies activity that he was doing with his students. And I said, no. He said, well, you're going to take the role of a student right now. And I had some trepidation about doing so because my technology skills are not as good as those middle school students that have been under his tutelage. And within just a few minutes, I was able to navigate and float through the technology with ease because of the type of teacher that Chad Miller is. When COVID hit this past spring, it was under his leadership that we were able to get the emergency remote learning platform in place. He consistently keeps the idea of what's best for students and teachers in the front. He provides professional development for teachers and office hours for parents to provide the support that we all need in this uncertain time. If you were to ask anyone throughout the Monrovia Unified School District to describe Chad Miller, they would include such words as amazing, kind, thoughtful, thought-provoking, willingness to grow, come alongside, and support through anything, patient, passionate, transformative, innovative, and their biggest fan. Chad Miller is an asset to MUSD, and we are so very fortunate to have him. Congratulations, Chad, and it is a joy every day to know that you are the parachute that's keeping us afloat.
Thank you, Dr. Kaiser. Mrs. Connie Wu, Assistant Superintendent, Business Services.
Good evening, everyone. It is my pleasure to introduce Sherry King, the District Senior Accounting Clerk, who is responsible for all MUSD certificated employees' paychecks. Sherry is one of the few district office employees who has a rich experience in a lot of parts of the district office. She spent most of her career in public school in Central California before she moved to Monrovia with her husband, who is a former MUSD employee and a Monrovian. She was a benefit technician, business analyst, administrative assistant to SELPA, administrative assistant to business, to deputy superintendent, and to the superintendent. As we all know that payroll department is a heavy deadline-oriented department. Few employees call payroll because they get a paycheck correctly. Most often they call because they do not get paid or get paid incorrectly. So however, there are a lot of reasons why this happened. But most likely, payroll staff was the one get blamed. So working in the payroll department, staff need to have 6 skins. Cheryl definitely changed the culture of the payroll department. She started to work at Monrovia Unified School District back to February 1st. In the last several months, we have changes in the payroll department. While he's learning his own job, he also helped classify employees' payroll decks. So basically, right now, we probably have a 1.25 FTE to take care of all the district-wide employee, both classified certificate payroll, and guess what? We have 1 classified employee of the district a year, and 1 of the classified employee of the month work in that department. That's why they handle it all. So what does the coworker say? What is Sherry? What kind of person Sherry is? They said that Sherry is hardworking, efficient, and pleasant to work with. She is a sweet lady, respectful, friendly, funny, genius, and kind. And we are so happy to have Sherry as part of a MUSD family and Monrovia. So congratulations, Sherry, and keep the good work.
Thank you, Mrs. Booth. Board President Hammond, members of the board, Dr. Terosian, cabinet, and members of the community. I have the honor of recognizing our final employee of the month this evening. Katrina Kwasai was originally hired as a part-time nurse to only serve our medically fragile special needs students through our special education local plan area, also known as a SELPA. However, she began wearing 2 hats in March of 2019 due to a vacancy that was created in the district's health coordinator's position, moving into more than a full-time position. Katrina was first to come to me to say, "We're in challenging fiscal times. Let's not spend district's revenue on contracting employees from agencies. I will step in and duties of both positions until we can fill it." Not only did she step in, she stepped up. Upon the county health department issuing safety protocols to follow, she stepped up and took the lead of the district's COVID-19 task force to ensure we maintain the health and welfare of our employees. She has committed a significant amount of time to attending the weekly meetings held with the county health department and Dr. Susan Chides. When there was a need identified to review the safe opening of one of the adult ed programs, Katrina stepped up again to make sure Mr. Furtake and his team had the support and expertise to ensure we were ready to receive students in our certified nursing assistant program. Mr. Furtake stated, "She rolled up her sleeves and showed up personally to everything. It is so helpful to have her medical expertise in our corner." If you visit our sites, signs are posted about campus indicating expectations regarding how to stay safe during the COVID-19 pandemic, as well as QR codes that will require those entering campus to complete a health screening survey prior to. Katrina stepped up to create this system. Just today, she was on Santa Fe's campus for almost 3 hours, walking the campus with Dr. Zamaripa and his team, preparing the site to receive students when that is feasible. Her efforts have been short of amazing during this pandemic. Least we forget, she was hired initially to serve our medically fragile special needs students, and she has not missed a step. She has attended IEP meetings, met with parents, teachers, service providers, and administrators. She has supported students and staff not coping well during this pandemic. Special Education Director Jennifer Johnson stated, Katrina is a person strong enough to tolerate everything and soft enough to understand everyone. We cannot do what we do without her. I could go on about Katrina, but we have much other business to attend to tonight. I'd like to end by saying I searched for descriptions of what makes a good nurse, and this is what I found. Someone who's caring, possesses excellent communication skills, empathetic, detail-oriented, a problem solver, has stamina, a sense of humor, patient, a learner, critical thinker, time management, leadership, and experience. She's an exceptional individual, and by what was previously described, she embodies all of these qualities. So Katrina, thank you for your service and commitment to our students, staff, district, and Monrovia community. I would be remiss if I didn't say thank you to her family for sacrificing some time so that she could spend that time with our district. She's truly an asset. Thank you, Board President Hammond.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, guys. Yeah, give them a round of applause. I'm only sorry they're not here in person so that we can congratulate them personally. Outstanding group of people and just representative of the folks that we have in our district. Up next, we have board reports and Ms. Travanti.
Yes, thank you, President Hammond. On September 9th, 2020, the board adopted resolution number 2021-04, recognizing the week of September, June 6th through June 12th, 2020 as National Suicide Prevention Week, and the month of September 2020, a Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. In line with this resolution, a few of us board members had an opportunity to speak and participate in a prayer event held this past Thursday evening. Smoke could not keep us away from a beautiful event held in front of the FPC Monrovia Church on Myrtle and Foothill. I want to specifically thank Ulysses Gutierrez of Inspire and the many who spoke with messages of hope. I'd like to thank those who started Healing Connections in our own wellness center at Monrovia High School, who have been pioneers and an example in the effort of suicide prevention and emotional well-being in the San Gabriel Valley. Leaders like Susan Hirsch have nurtured relationships and created an environment welcoming to all students and their families. It was a beautiful community event, and I was very happy to be there, along with Rob Hammond and Brian Wong. Thank you.
Does any other board member have a report? Thank you. Up next, we have Mr. Delgado for his inaugural student board member report, and you now have the floor.
Okay. MHS Digital Studies Academy is beginning an esports program allowing teams of MHS students to compete on a competitive video game level with other high school students. CTE teacher Mr. Anthony Carlson is the lead for this program. ASB will be celebrating Club Rush Week the week of September 28th. All of our clubs will be holding virtual club meetings. During the week, students are encouraged to attend and find out what our clubs have to offer. We will also be debuting our virtual student union, where all of our club information will be located throughout the year. And that's my report.
Well, I have a couple of questions for you. Take a little bit of time for us to get to know you. What grade are you in? What subject's your favorite subject? Where do you plan on going to school after high school? A little bit like that.
Okay. So my name is Antonio Delgado. I'm a senior at the high school. I am the ASB president, and I'm a part of Interact Club, Environmental Club, NTHS, NHS, and Spanish Club. I love my school, but on my free time, I like to hang out with my friends and family. My plans for the future is to attend a UC school, and right now my top 3 schools are UC Davis, UCLA, and UC Berkeley. I want to major in business and take my leadership skills and become an event planner. And the school year so far, It's been the strangest among all my years, but however, I personally have seemed to manage it. Block schedule is a blessing because it helps me manage all my homework and not having every single class every single day. But online learning is a lot of self-teaching, and I'm really good with that. So overall, I'm enjoying this school year so far.
Well, that's good to hear. We're looking forward to working with you for this entire school year and going through from here to the end on your senior year and hearing about all the wonderful things that are happening over at MHS. We sure appreciate you joining us.
Thank you.
You're welcome, and welcome aboard. Up next, we have a report from Dr. Tarosian.
Very briefly, President Hammond, members of the board, I too would like to welcome Antonio back to the board. And I don't know if any of you remember, but he filled in a few times last year. And so if he looks vaguely familiar to you, it's because we've met. And he's executed his responsibilities in the past beautifully, and I look forward to working with him also in the future. So welcome aboard, Antonio. I'd also like to extend my appreciation and gratitude to Dennis Rios, Karen Go, Katrina Crusay, Sherry King, and Chad Miller. It takes an army to move this organization, and they are such integral parts of this machine. And I am so grateful for their contributions day in and day out. I, like you, President Hammond, look forward to the day when we can welcome them back and shake their hands and take a picture. Because these individuals always meet our needs. And beyond that, anticipate them. So I am so grateful to them. Thank you.
And that's your report?
That concludes my report.
Love it. Up next, we have public comments. Anybody who wishes to speak to the board on matters on and off the agenda, simply send us an email now and to the board. Let's see, how does it work? It has to go to Shoshana Huff, who will then read it to the board. Ms. Huff, do we have any public comment?
Yes, Board President Hammond, we have one public comment tonight. It comes from Mr. Chris Blanton. Mr. Blanton writes, at your last school board meeting, I asked the question why my questions were dismissed at open house for Monrovia High School, and a question and answer period that was supposed to follow, and a follow-up question why the principal had not responded to an email I sent after to his email address. I sent a second email to the principal, and it was answered that he had not received it and could not find it in his emails. And he could not find it in his emails. At least he had the courtesy to respond, which is more than I received from the school board or from the administration. I think answering somebody's question is actually a common courtesy that obviously was not extended to me. U.S. News and World Reports just released their 2020 rankings, and once again in Monrovia schools, 34% of the students are proficient in math and under 70% are proficient in reading. So you're failing 7 out of 10 students in math proficiency, and 3 out of 10 aren't proficient in reading yet and aren't proficient in reading. Yet you are claiming that you have world-class schools. Another new question to ask you is, what standards are you using to come to that conclusion? I look forward to having another statement at the next school board meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Blanton, and we'll look forward to hearing from you again. Any other public comments?
There are none.
Thank you very much. We'll close the public comment hearing.
I have a question, a follow-up question, if I may.
Sure.
Did he include that U.S. News? Maybe I should be asking Ms. Huff. Did he include that U.S. News and World Report that he mentioned, or did he mention the date of that?
No, he did not.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hammond.
We'll close public comments and we'll bring up the matter of, I'm sorry, Kathy, what I wanted to do is I want to bring up number 8 in front of the informational reports. So I don't know if I articulated that correct. We do. Okay, good. We're moving action item number 8 up to now. And Dr. Trosian, will you please give the staff report?
Yes, President Hammond, members of the board. Before you today is an opportunity to recognize the contributions of the Bowden family to the Monrovia Unified School District. And with us today is a special guest who will be able to better articulate the request to the board. Council member and Monrovia High School graduate, always a Wildcat, Mr. Larry Spicer.
You want me to go ahead? Oh, okay.
You're live now, Larry.
All right, that's cool. Hey, good evening, Board President Hammond and members of the school board, Dr. Thorosian and the district cabinet. I'm just speaking on behalf of the, in favor of the weight room. And one of the reasons why is because Diane and Fred Bowden, for the past 6 years that I know, they have really contributed to the whether it was the football team, the track team, no matter whatever I went to them for, you know, they always donated. I mean, the Bowden family would always donate. It was a few times that the football team there is called the Water Boy. You know, we had a hard time trying to get some tires for that Water Boy. And who found the tires for me? Fred Bowden. And they, you know, when you can get alumni that come back and donate to our schools, that's a blessing. It's truly a blessing, whether they're donating, volunteering their time, no matter what. It's just truly a blessing when people give back to the school where they ended up receiving all of their learning. And so I just hope I hope and pray that the school board rename the weight room, because it's a beautiful facility. It is awesome. I just hope you guys rename it the Diane and Fred Bowden weight room. Is that good?
Thank you, Larry.
God bless you guys. Keep up the good work.
You know, President Hammond, Mr. Spicer could have just been talking about himself right there with his contributions to the Monrovia High School as an alumnus. And I so appreciate his willingness to come and articulate so from the heart those contributions and the meaning of the high school to this community. So thank you, Mr. Spicer.
You're more than welcome.
Any questions?
Just a comment. I just wanted to thank Larry as well for all of his hard work and to keep that tradition up of giving back to the Monrovia School District. Appreciate it, Larry.
I also want to echo that, all of those sentiments and more. He just wants to do this, and he has always said, "This is my school, this is my town, this is what I do," and he doesn't do it for the recognition or anything. He just does it because he wants to give back. And thank you so much, Larry. Thank you so much, Mr. Spicer. Everything that Brian and Catherine have said and so much more.
Thank you.
You're an inspiration for us.
I'll just make a quick comment too, Larry. We sure appreciate you, and when you talk about Fred and Diane Bowden and you work with them for 6 years, I've been working with them for 17 years, and those folks are the salt of the earth. They're good people that care about this community, care about our high school, and certainly have provided a tremendous amount of support for our schools and particularly for Monrovia High School. So thanks for your kind words about them and your encouragement to pass this resolution.
Maritza?
Yes, I wanted to add that us as board members, we were able to tour the weight room and actually see everything that came together as a result of Larry Spicer's hard work of getting community members to donate and really get behind doing the upgrades that our weight room really needed. So I appreciate Mr. Spicer's work, the Bowden family, and also the other donors that were also identified for the weight room. So thank you very much.
Just a quick comment, Larry, thank you so much. Appreciate your time coming here tonight and speaking about this. The Bowden family has been gracious to the Monrovia Unified School District for a number of years, as well as to the community of Monrovia at large. I think this is a fitting thing to do here this evening. Just one correction on the agenda. It says Fred Bowden weight room. It would be the Fred and Diane Bowden weight room. And I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion that we rename the MHS weight room the Fred and Diane Bowden weight room.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Ms. Huff, may we please have a vote?
Board Member Lockerbie?
Yes.
Board Member Travanti?
Yes.
Board Member Wong?
Yes.
Board Member Gilliland?
Yes.
Board President Hammond?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thanks, Larry.
You're
Appreciate
welcome.
being here.
Have a great night.
Okay. Now we're going to move back to a distant learning update. Dr. Tarosian.
Thank you, President Hammond, members of the board. We had, as a district, committed to a feedback loop with our parents, with our teachers, to gather their input so that we could review their thoughts, comments, and make some informed next steps. This is just a very brief overview. We're still going through so much of the data. And what do surveys do and what does data do? It begs more questions and inspires additional questions. But very quickly, in terms of the parent survey, and these are in elementary, middle, and high school, the question was whether or not the synchronous or the asynchronous work was manageable. Was it too much? Was it not enough? Was it just right? And actually, this question wasn't necessarily posed as well as it should have, because, you know, just right and enough are the next survey will have a better articulated question. But in terms of just right, about 41%, and too much, about 23%, in terms of our elementary parents, and how much work is involved. The next slide, also at the elementary level, do your children have help when they need it? Almost 90% said yes. Our goal is to get to 100%. Are children able to monitor progress in class? 54.7% said yes. Again, we want to get to 100%. Next slide. In your opinion, is the level of rigor comparable to in-class instruction? 44% said yes, 53% said no. And again, this is one more that we'll be working toward. This works as a baseline for us from which we hope to improve and take direction. In the middle school level, again, that poorly formulated question, which will change the next time, 56% said it was just right. 6% said it was too much, and 33% said it was enough. So again, we're going to have to revise that. The next slide. Do your children have help? 93.6% said yes. Again, we still want to get to 100. Are your children able to monitor their progress in class? 88.2% said yes. And again, one of the reasons we want our students to be able to monitor their own progress is because it provides them with agency. They understand what they need to do and how to get to where they need to go in terms of their goals in the class. And we want those numbers just a little higher. The next slide about the level of rigor, how comparable it is. At 53.6% at the middle school level said, yeah, it was comparable, and 45% said that it was not. And at the high school level, 33% said that the amount of work was just right, and 22.6% said it was too much. Right. Do your children have help to complete the assignments? 81% said yes, they do have help. Again, we need to get to 100. The ability to monitor progress is closer to 90%. And the level of rigor is comparable at 34%. And this question as well needs to be further clarified. Does that mean it's when it's not comparable, does it mean it's more rigorous or less? So the next survey will look slightly different, but based upon these questions. We also asked our staff members, our teachers, to provide their input just about how things were going and some of the questions that mirrored those asked of parents. And these we have not yet broken down into elementary, middle, or high. We'll get to that next. But on a scale of 1 to 5 being comfort level in technology, 21% said that they were very comfortable, and 24% said they were somewhat comfortable, and actually 1% said they were not comfortable at all. So our teachers are also on a learning curve. How many students or parents have attended your office hours at least once? Instead of providing the percentages, I just like to let you know that it's 63 parents total. So we want to invite parents to participate in the office hours in order to ask questions, in order to ask for help, in order to get the support that they might need, or in order to find additional information. Our teachers are there and they are committed to those office hours because they believe it's important, as do we, to be able to communicate regularly. Are students able to monitor progress in class? Again, from the teacher's perspective versus the parent. The teachers said 73% said that they would be able to monitor their progress. So that's a question to further ask teachers about how we can get to a better point where students could monitor their own progress. It is what we, in learning, having that level of agency is very important. And in terms of the level of rigor, here too, teachers said that it was not comparable to being in class. And the follow-up question really does need to be in what manner. So we will refine a couple of those questions and ask again. For the teacher, one, we had an open-ended question about what are some of the best parts of distance learning. And I just want to share a couple. The first is the opportunity to collaborate with colleagues. There's time to do that. And the other is the opportunity to learn this technology that they believe, and I believe, will impact teaching and learning for years to come. This level of learning in terms of how to best manage the technology will be incorporated in how we provide instruction for some time. I hope to have survey results with greater details in the coming weeks, and will provide those results in a more consolidated manner on our website when those are ready so that people can look. And this provides us with agency. It provides us with a level of where we are and what we need to do. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Tarosian. As most people know, the board is doing special meetings every week so that we can keep the community informed of what's happening in the distant learning environment. And for that reason is we find ourselves that we don't have these extensive reports on board night because we've done them in between board meetings. And if you're interested, please look at our website so that you'll know when we're doing a special meeting. We're going to be doing one next Wednesday as well. We'll be doing them every week while we're in the virtual environment so that we can keep our parents informed. Up next, we have the consent calendar, the consent agenda. I'm sorry, I just jumped ahead. Are there any questions of this presentation? Sorry.
Yes, I have a question. Thank you, President Hammond. Dr. Tarosian, going back to the parent-student survey, how many total participants did you have?
I'm embarrassed to say I don't have the totals here. Excuse me, I can do a quick count. Do, 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 do. Just under 400.
400 total responses out of 5,000 something enrolled students.
Correct.
Okay. What can we do to get better participation from our families? What can we do? I'm at a loss. If we're only getting 400 participants in these surveys, are we really getting a good measure here? I mean, I don't know what we can do to encourage parents to participate in the surveys that we send out, because it is necessary for us to measure how we're doing. What needs to be changed? What needs to be tweaked? What are our real challenges for our students and parents? I'm at a loss. Do you have any ideas of how we can do a better job of communicating these surveys?
I do believe that by continuing to discuss them, share the results, and remind them to participate the next time as it becomes part of our regular course of operations, and as we demonstrate our commitment to listening, I believe that will make a difference.
Kathy, when we give the announcement, is it going out through Parent Square to do the survey?
It is.
You know, it might be, and I'm just throwing an idea out here. If we used our website, if we used our social media, if we used every avenue that we have, that we're putting a survey out, that it's very important that we get that information back. And then offer it at least twice, and I don't know how, I'm assuming we sent it once, but maybe offer it twice and give it a deadline. We have this much time to turn it back in, so that it can be said, and I'm just going to use this as an example. If you put it out on Monday and it's due on Friday, then you can actually push it out again. Don't forget the surveys due on Friday. Don't forget the surveys due on Friday. Don't forget the surveys due on Friday. Because it, like everybody else, you get busy, you forget, you think you want to do it, I'll catch it in 10 minutes and forget about it. Well, maybe we go back there and just remind people gently to go back, and it's due on Friday. That it might increase the number of people that we have.
And perhaps it needs to be a combination of those communications, but also a phone blast on that Monday saying we are about to, send out a parents survey. This is the deadline in English and in Spanish, to ensure that message is going out in two different ways.
Yeah, just take every avenue that we have. Absolutely, just take every avenue that we have to get out to the public.
I'm so glad that Maritza brought up the participation, because that's something that I was concerned about. And I wanted to mention on the first slide for the elementary school, there was 3.8% that didn't have a response, which concerns me for exactly what Maritza said. And I too am frustrated. and I agree with Mr. Hammond and Ms. Travanti that we need to find a way to get more involvement. I'm really concerned about pushing it out on multiple platforms because as a parent, I get a lot of messages. I get a lot of Parent Square messages every day. And I'm afraid if we overuse it, it will cause a numbing effect. And it's just something that I wanted to mention. You're absolutely right. We need to get more participation. I appreciate you mentioning it, and I appreciate the thoughts about some ways that we could go. But I have some concerns about too much communication because I don't want to numb parents to anything or everything. And I was going to say something else about it, and I didn't write it down, so I've forgotten it.
While you're thinking about it, real quick, I think part of it is with the surveys, the amount of surveys that's going out, it's just not from this. I think we need to do a good job in explaining what the survey is for and what we're going to do with it. Because we're asking for a lot of surveys, and I'm not sure that they're seeing the correlation between filling this out and what we've done with it. So, and I'm not really positive the best way to do this, but if we're going to change or make policies based on surveys, I think it would be very helpful for future surveys if we let people know, meaning based on the surveys, we made these changes. Because then there's a value to people filling these out. I think a lot of people are looking at these and they don't understand what it's for, so there's no value to them, so they're not doing it. Just an idea.
I do appreciate, Dr. Throsin, that this is a loop. And I appreciate that this is going to continue to go out. And I'm not saying that our only course of action to get more interaction from the parents is that it will continue to come out, but there will become more interaction. And the ideas that were brought forth by Brian and Maritza and Rob, there is some traction that can be gained by it continuing to go out. And I like Brian's idea that this is what we're going to do with the input that we receive, or not going to do. But it will continue to go to appear as well, as long as we're doing this distance learning. So I do appreciate that.
Dr. Trostian, I think you have some thoughts and suggestions from the board. I know that you'll put those to good use to create a better and more, I think, more informational survey so that it's easier for us.
Right. My main thing is that I want our parents to know that this is a way to empower them to have a voice through these surveys so that we can use this information. I mean, I have personally heard comments, well, I don't take them because district's not going to do anything about it anyways. Well, I really am trying to change that mindset because this is important information for the district and they are going to do something about it. This is how we can make changes. This is a brand new environment for all of us. And if we're not giving the district the feedback that they need, then how will they know to make the changes? So I'm just strongly encouraging for those that are listening and that can spread the word for us as well, that the surveys really are important to us.
Absolutely. Any other comments? Thank you all. We're going to move on to the consent calendar. With the notation that we're pulling number 5 to put into the first action item, I'll entertain a motion for consent.
I move that we pass consent with item 5 pulled.
Second.
The motion and a second. Any discussion? Ms. Huffman, will you please have a vote?
Board Member Travanti,
Yes.
Board Member Wong,
Yes.
Board Member Gilliland,
Yes.
Board Member Lockerbie,
Yes.
Board President Hammond.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay. Item number 5, Dr. Tarosian, staff report, please. Oh, Dr. Jackson, staff report, please.
I'm happy to.
That's okay. Darvin showed up. It's like, we're good.
We're good. Board President Hammond.
Shows up.
Yeah. Members of the board, cabinet, community members. I'm joined this evening by our Director of Student Support Services, Dr. Lisa Manami Lin. She has been working closely with the LA County Office of Education, as well as our staff administrators to facilitate the positive behavior intervention support services. So I'm going to defer to Mrs. Manami Lin.
Good evening, Board President Hammond, members of the school board, Dr. Therosian, members of cabinet, and our community. This year, the 2020-21 school year, LACO provided school districts with the option of having school district focused topics for the PBIS training. MUSD selected this option. The 3 areas for our district-wide training will be cultural responsiveness, equity, and unconscious bias. Positive Behavior Interventions and Supports, PBIS, is a multi-tiered system of support for school sites to organize evidence-based behavioral interventions into an integrated continuum that enhances academic and social behavior outcomes for all of our students.
Any questions of Ms. Manami Lin? Entertain a motion.
I did have a question. I just lost where the rationale was. If you could, while I'm looking for it, Ms. Manami Lin, if you could read it again, read the rationale again, because I think it's important. And I think it's important. And that's why I asked for it to be pulled from consent and read publicly, because it's important and it's taking action on something that we're not, legislation doesn't require us to take action on for a long time. And we're doing it now. And I wanted to make sure that the public, anyone who's listening, really heard this and heard what we're doing. And I think you said, I think one of the things is implicit bias. And the work on implicit bias. And if you could just read that for me again.
Okay, so during these unprecedented times, LACO really looked at the function of the PBIS training and what it meant to each school district and their communities. And then what they did was they reached out and they spoke to all the student support services directors who are in charge of the PBIS program and training, the professional development. And they said, because we are in this distance learning bubble, you as school districts have the opportunity now to make a decision to select training based on topics that are near and dear to your district. With all of the events that happened this past spring, with everything that is changing in the national landscape, I went to Dr. Jackson and Dr. Kaiser and let them know that this opportunity presented themselves, that at 3 times during the year, in addition to the professional development that Dr. Kaiser provides, everyone in the school district will have the opportunity to hear at the same time very important training about implicit bias, unconscious bias, equity, and cultural responsiveness. Most certainly, Dr. Rial and her work in her division, she began the work in cultural responsiveness. Most certainly, during last spring, PBIS was brought to several of our district schools with unconscious bias training, but never before was it possible to have all 3 trainings at the same time, with training specifically for administrators separately and apart from their staffs, and then administrators and their staffs, so that we can dive deep into this learning and begin our journey.
I really appreciate this, and I really appreciate that you've said we begin our journey, because this isn't the end of it, and we're going to continue to learn and grow. And thank you for reading this for us tonight, and thank you for making this decision to dive into this and start this now. So I just want to say thank you for
that. Celine, would like to make a motion?
How about I move? Yes, so moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Ms. Huff, may we please have a vote?
Board Member Wong?
Yes.
Board Member Gilliland?
Yes.
Board Member Lockerbie?
Yes.
Board Member Javanti?
Yes.
Board President Hammond?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Up next, Ed Services. We have Dr. Kaiser on the contract for Cognitive Toy Box.
Good evening, Board President Hammond, members of the board. I bring before you tonight a recommendation as we're requesting for you to approve a contract with Cognitive Toy Box for an assessment platform for the Canyon Early Learning Center for the 2021 school year. This is a product that is recommended by our early childhood experts from the County Office of Education. It's called the Cognitive Toy Box. It is an assessment platform that enables our teachers to assess kindergarten readiness skills through a combination of observation-based skills and touchscreen games. Assessment through games saves teachers a significant amount of time by streamlining and automating the data collection. And so this product will be, it is a learning product where children are playing games to learn, and then also an assessment product where teachers are gathering really important data on kindergarten readiness skills.
Any questions of Dr. Kaiser?
I have a question, Dr. Kaiser, if I may.
Of course.
Call me old-fashioned, but I think one of the best ways that a teacher can determine readiness for the next grade is by interacting with the child.
Right.
Is this this contract with this Cognitive Toy Box, is this specific to our distance learning environment that we're in currently?
That is one of the greatest needs that we're seeing right now, is that the teachers are instructing digitally even in our preschool, and this will allow them to do some of the assessing online in this fashion.
Okay, I want to know if when we are out of this distance learning environment, if we're going to still be reliant on this.
As we're moving through this right now, this is a recommendation that comes from LACO in terms of using these tools to create some of these assessments. And so while we're in distance learning, it will give us an opportunity to pilot it to see if it is indeed a better assessment tool than what we have been using. And so we have some discovery to do while we're in this environment right now. It is a tool that will allow us to be more efficient with what we're doing right now in distance learning.
What program have we been learning?
What the teachers, this will interface with the current assessment program, that the assessment tool, the instrument that the preschool uses. It will interface and provide data for them to record in their recording tool. Right now, much of the assessment is done with a recording tool where a child is asked to perform a task in front of the teacher. And of course, in distance learning, we can't do that. And again, we don't know the viability of this in the face-to-face environment because we haven't used this tool yet.
Any other questions, comments? Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
I have another question. So you have brought this to us. This has been brought to us because it's a recommendation from LACO. Is that correct?
Well, actually, it's a tool that is something that they are endorsing as a tool. This tool does many things. It does the assessment, but it also provides high-quality, standards-based daily activities and read alouds, and it bridges a gap between the at-home and the classroom learning. So it's also a product that parents can use at home. If the students are in school, they can use it at home in the afternoon if they're going to morning preschool. It extends the learning for them. And so we're looking at this right now because we are in this digital world right now, even with our preschool children, and we want to have a plethora of tools for parents to use so that there aren't gaps in the learning for our students.
My greatest concern is gaps in learning. Absolutely. Right. My concern and my questions about this is I don't want a program or something digital or electronic taking the place of humans. I don't want them taking the place of teachers and teacher interaction. And I don't want them taking the place of parents and parents' interactions with their children. So when you said like there's out loud learning, I'm sorry, you said out loud reading.
There are read alouds that are incorporated into this.
So I don't want that to be, I don't want that to become a crutch for a parent. And I'm not saying that it would be, or it is, or it could be. I don't want it to become that. So I don't want it to take the place of mom or dad or grandma or whomever sitting down with a preschooler with a book and reading from a book. So I'm apprehensive about this. Mm-hmm. How can you allay my concerns?
As we're moving through, this would not ever replace that time that a parent has with a child. This tool has many different facets, and the primary use of this tool is to gather the data for kindergarten readiness. That's what the primary use is. It also has some lessons and some learning extensions in it. We totally agree with you, Board Member Lockerbie, that this would never replace the comfort of the human interaction between a preschooler and an adult.
I know that a motion and a second has already been made, so I'm going to ask, and if I can't ask this, it's okay, but would this come back to us after we've moved through the distance learning to see if it would stay or be phased out?
Right. Whoever, go ahead.
Certainly appropriate to ask for a staff report a year from now.
Okay. Can I ask for that now, or is it?
What we can do is, who made the second?
I did.
Okay. And who made the motion?
I did, and I'll add a staff report a year from now to the motion.
There's a friendly amendment to the motion. Is there a second to Fred's? Is there a second to Ed's friendly amendment to the motion, Maritza?
For a staff report a year.
In a
from
year,
now.
yeah.
Yes, I'll agree to that amendment.
Okay.
My second.
So there's a proper motion and a second then to bring it back in a year from now with an update on how the program is working.
Thank you so much for that insight on the workings of that all. I appreciate it.
And we're happy to bring a report back.
Thank you so much.
Are there any other questions or comments? We have a motion and a second. Ms. Huff, will you please call for a vote?
Board Member Gilliland?
Yes.
Board Member Lockerbie?
Yes.
Board Member Travanti?
Yes.
Board Member Wong?
Yes.
Board President Hammond?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Up next, still Dr. Kaiser on adopt learning continuity.
The Board of Education is requested to adopt the Learning Continuity and Attendance Plan, known as the LCAP. So it's another type of LCAP. The Learning Continuity and Attendance Plan is a key part of the overall budget package for the K-12 environment that seeks to address funding stability for schools while providing information at the local education agency level for how student learning continuity will be addressed during COVID-19 in the 2021 school year. The Learning Continuity Plan template memorializes the planning process already underway for the 2021 school year and includes descriptions of the following: addressing gaps in learning, conducting meaningful stakeholder engagement, maintaining transparency, addressing the needs of unduplicated pupils, students with unique needs, and students experiencing homelessness, and providing access to necessary devices and connectivity for the distance learning, providing resources and supports to address student and staff mental health and social emotional well-being, and continuing to provide school meals for students. So with this in mind, our district has been very proactive in developing a plan that will include increasing our devices for students so that every student in our district has a one-to-one device, and maintaining our infrastructure so that our connectivity works for our students during this distance learning plan and beyond. We're also looking at tutoring and intervention systems within the district to assist with the learning gaps. We're looking at the food, the meal services for our students, and feeding our community during this time of COVID when so many have lost jobs. And then the other piece that we are able to do with these funds is members of our educational community that have been displaced in their jobs. This pays for them to work in a job outside of their classification. So our plan is in those four main areas. And tonight we are bringing this back after we had an open hearing in our last meeting. We're bringing this back for adoption.
Any questions of Dr. Kaiser?
A couple of comments. One is I want to thank all the people that worked so hard to get this put together. The other, in this time that, there's so much bad news and so many negatives to what's happening. We're going to have the opportunity here to get to one-to-one with student devices, and that's a positive. So good work, Dr. Kaiser.
Thank you. One thing that I did fail to mention is that a large part of the plan is also bringing in our next generation science textbooks for kindergarten through grade 12, and also our history social science books for kindergarten through grade 5, as those adoptions are allowable with these funds.
More good news.
I think Celine was first.
Yeah, Celine.
I just wanted to ask, is the one-time learning loss mitigation funding the only budget funding that is associated with the learning continuity and attendance plan. Doesn't mean that there isn't other money out there for what we're going through, but are those the only two? Is that the only funding that is specifically linked to this new LCAP?
Yes, it is. And the parameters are the parameters that I mentioned in the rationale. They were very specific parameters in terms of what this funding was allowed to be spent on. And it just so happened that within the parameters, it fit the exact needs that we have in Monrovia right now.
Maritza.
I just wanted to know for the public that may be tuning in tonight and hadn't tuned in when we first brought this on into discussion and we had the public hearing, that we did not have any public comments on this, and there was a thorough explanation of this entire plan by Dr. Kaiser, and again, kudos to you, Dr. Kaiser, and your team who put this together. This was a huge heavy lift among all kinds of other things that were going on with rolling out of distance learning. So thank you very much for your hard work. For the public that does want to hear the nitty-gritty details of this plan, you can tune into the KGM channel for that board meeting, which was our last regularly scheduled board meeting, not the special board meetings, but the regularly scheduled one. And you can get more information there. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Ms. Huff, will you please call for the vote?
Board Member Lockerbie?
Yes.
Board Member Travanti?
Yes.
Board Member Wong?
Yes.
Board Member Gilliland?
Yes.
Board President Hammond?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Dr. Kaiser, the general contract for services with Modern Brain.
Don't forget the Azusa Pacific.
Oh yeah, I was so interested in Modern Brain that I just skipped it. Thank you. So let's go in order. Let's take number 3 for off-campus federal work study agreement. Dr. Kaiser?
I guarantee that you will love this item. The Board of Education is requested to approve an off-campus federal work study agreement with Azusa Pacific University to conduct the federal work study program and to reimburse Monrovia Unified School District for 75% of the wages paid to tutors for the 2021 school year. This agreement will be with the university, so the tutors that we hire from the university will reimburse us 75% of the wages paid, and we'll have these tutors working through our proactive tutoring program. Azusa Pacific University Federal Work Study Partnership will provide the resources for our tutor support of students' academic intervention and enrichment needs throughout our middle and high schools. And we will be working with them in conjunction with the proactive tutoring and through this federal work study program.
Questions?
Just one comment, Rob. This continues a long partnership we've had with Azusa Pacific, and thanks to all the folks that have worked on this and provide this great opportunity for this district and for a proactive tutoring program.
I agreed. Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Ms. Huff, will you please call for the vote?
Board Member Travanti?
Yes.
Board Member Wong?
Yes.
Board Member Gilliland,
Yes.
Board Member Lockerbie,
Yes.
Board President Hammond.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
My favorite thing on the whole agenda, general contract for services with Modern Brain.
The Board of Education is requested to approve a general contract for services with Modern Brain Corporation on behalf of Santa Fe Computer Science Magnet School and Monrovia High School for the 2021 school year. For more than a decade, the Modern Brain has worked to help students to become independent learners by teaching critical thinking through oral communication. This is a program that Dr. Trosian brought to us for consideration in our schools, and Monrovia High School and Santa Fe Middle Computer Magnet School both found that this could fit right into the programs that they have developed right now. This is a program where students learn the skills of oratory and debate, and these students will be working with teachers on their campus and coaches from Modern Brain to engage in mock trials, speech, debate, radio broadcasting, and they also have a Model United Nations program. The goal of each speech is to create well-rounded performers through the following mediums: limited preparation speaking, so speaking in that ad-lib type, 2-minute to prepare a 5-minute speech, teaches critical thinking and how to react quickly. Memorized speeches, which teaches research, writing skills, and interview skills. Acting teaches students how to understand and capture an audience attention through emotions, and debate, which teaches students how to analyze evidence, make persuasive arguments, and respond to opposition. And so this is what the Modern Brain Corporation does. They will be providing 2 hours of coaching sessions twice a week, 4 hours total via Zoom for each school. Additionally, students will compete in 3 competitions per semester, so that's 6 competitions through the year.
Any questions of Dr. Kaiser?
Can I take a class?
I think you could teach the class.
No.
I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
I told you it was my favorite thing on the agenda.
That's why we're all anxious to get it going.
I know it. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Just out of curiosity, is there a reason why it's just at one of the 2 middle schools?
It was all of the principals were approached, and Dr. Zamaripa felt that it was something that it was timely for Santa Fe right now in terms of the programs that they had, and it was something that he felt that he had sponsors, teachers that were willing to take this on as club leaders. There have to be teachers that have room in their schedule to take this on as an additional assignment.
Sure. Thank you.
Any further questions? Discussion? Maybe please, wait, do we have a motion and a second yet?
Yes.
Yeah.
I am really sorry. That's why everybody jumped in. Maybe
We
please
need
have a vote.
buzzers.
Wait, please have a vote.
Board Member Wong,
Yes.
Board Member Gilliland,
Yes.
Board Member Lockerbie,
Yes.
Board Member Travanti,
Yes.
Board President Hammond.
Yes.
Motion.
And I'm going to have, I'm
Sorry.
sorry. I am going to need to beg the board's forgiveness. I have received a phone call that of very personal and emergency nature that has to be taken care of. And I apologize for being a little bit scatterbrained right there at the end, but I have to take care of it. I'm going to ask Vice President Wong to please continue the meeting, and I'll come back if I'm able to.
No problem.
Thanks, Brian.
Hope everything goes well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Item number 5, Dr. Jackson, proposed MOU with CSCA.
Yes, Board Vice President Wong, members of the board, Dr. Terosian, Cabinet, and the community, the Board of Education is requested to approve the memorandum of understanding between the Monrovia Unified School District and the California School Employees Associations and its Chapter 20. It encompasses, but not limited to sharing of information, safety protocols and procedures, exposure management, protocols, procedures for leaves of absences, and working remotely. This document has been reviewed by stakeholders in the process, as well as by our legal counsel, Dr. Maggie Chidester. Both parties signed this MOU on September 14, 2020. I would be remiss if I didn't thank the CSEA negotiations team for the thoughtful, collaborative efforts contributed by the team throughout this process.
Thank you. Do we have a motion?
I have a question.
Okay.
What? We are, what is this? What are we voting on? Are we voting to accept the MOU?
Yes.
Okay. That was that was easy.
That was easy.
That was an easy question. Don't worry. It's just Celine.
I'll make the motion then.
Do I have a second? Do we have any other comments or questions? Ms. Huff?
I'm sorry, was there a second?
Maritza.
Okay.
Yes.
I cut her off, sorry. Spoke over the top.
Board Member Gilliland?
Yes.
Board Member Lockerbie?
Yes.
Board Member Travanti?
Yes.
Board Member Wong? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
Perfect, thank you. On to item number 6, proposed renewal of collective bargaining agreement between California School Employees Association and the Monrovia Unified School District. Dr. Jackson?
Yes, Board Vice President Wong, members of the board, Dr. Terosian, Cabinet, and members of the community. The Board of Education is requested to present for public information the proposed renewal of the collective bargaining agreement between the California School Employees Association and the Monrovia Unified School District for the period of July 1st, 2018 through June 30th, 2021. This document includes changes dating back several years. In order to negotiate new language in the CSEA collective bargaining agreement, this document must be approved before CSEA is allowed to bargain new language with the district. This document has been reviewed by stakeholders in the process, as well as by our legal counsel, Dr. Maggie Chidester. One other note, it's dated back to July 1st, 2018, based on the fact that that's when the previous collective bargaining agreement had expired.
Any comments or questions?
So it's a 3-year agreement.
Yes.
It came up the last time in 2015.
Yes.
To 2018. So now we're talking about the period of 2018 to 2021.
Yes.
Any other comments or questions? Could I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Huff?
Board Member Lockerbie?
Yes.
Board Member Travanti?
Yes.
Board Member Gilliland?
Yes.
Board Vice President Wong?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
Fantastic. Item number 7, board policies on sexual harassment and their accompanying ARs. Dr. Jackson. No, Dr. Terosian.
Dr. Jackson, I'll take it for Dr. Terosian.
All righty.
The board, Vice President Hammond, members of the board, Dr. Terosian, Cabinet, and community members, the Board of Education is requested to receive for reading board policies 4119.11 and 4219.11, sexual harassment, and their accompanying administrative regulations, and administrative regulations 4219.43 and 5145.71, 9 sexual harassment complaint procedures. These policies were reviewed by our legal counsel and briefly reviewed by Board Vice President Wong due to the following reason. The following board policies and admin regulations reflect federal Title IX regulations effective August 14, 2020, which established a process for investigating and resolving allegations of conduct that meets the federal definition of sexual harassment. A preliminary injunction seeking to postpone the effective date of the regulations and prohibit their enforcement was initially overturned. However, legal counsel has informed the district that a trailer injunction is in the process, which means there could be changes to these documents. Most of the language in these new documents are new. The last time these documents were updated was 2007. Much has changed since then. To meet the legal requirements to update these very important policies, and more importantly, in support of fostering a safe and positive work environment, I am requesting the board to receive these policies for a first reading, knowing changes may be possible.
Comments or questions?
Yeah, so Dr. Jackson, if we approve this tonight, then we're in compliance. And if there's an injunction against the enforcement, all we have to do then is postpone the enforcement of these policies. Is that right? Or do we have to readdress it if there's a new injunction?
The former. We do not need to postpone.
Okay.
Selene?
Is the reason that most of the documents are red, is it because it's new language, just like you had said?
Yes, everything is in red, is new.
Okay. So that's why there's so much red, is because so much has changed. So much.
I mean, yes.
Any other comments or questions? No, this is the second time through that we're doing this. And there's obviously other outside forces that don't involve us that are kind of sticking this back and forth into the court system. So at this point in time, basically, this is just a first reading. So what we'll do, unless there's any objection, is if I don't hear any comments, or if Mr. Hammond does not hear any comments or concerns or adjustments that would like to be met, I would like to have these put onto the consent agenda. Any objection?
After this motion, so, or does it get moved?
After this motion, well, okay. This isn't a motion. This is a first reading. So we have a first reading, and then it is, I think it's 30 days. Is that right, Dr. Jackson? 30 days? So after 30 days passes, then we can go move forward and have them passed. But if there are no notes of change, then I'm going to ask that we just put them on consent, because here is the opportunity to see and read them. If there are no comments, then that must mean they're good to go by the public and by the board. With that, we will put these on consent when they roll around, if there are no comments. All righty, item number 9, pending board issues. Dr. Throsian.
Thank you, Vice President Wong, members of the board. I just wanted to mention a couple of bills from the Education Budget Trailer Bill, A20, that Governor Newsom signed. One formally suspended the administration of the state physical performance tests in 2020-2021. Another clarified the authorized use of the learning loss mitigation funds, which includes now health and safety purposes. However, it also excludes the learning loss mitigation funds as expenditures for purposes of calculating routine restricted maintenance. And it also makes inoperative the flexibilities on state timelines for special education assessments and transfer of files. So those three are now California law, with which we will comply.
All righty. Is there any other issues that we would like to discuss or bring up?
I'd just like to ask that the cognitive toolbox report be put on this for a year from now.
Thank
Perfect.
you.
Any other additions or deletions? All righty, we will move on to old business, which is the next regular board meeting is October the 14th at 7 o'clock. But as President Hammond had mentioned earlier, the meetings in between will be deemed as special meetings, and the next one will be next Wednesday, which is September the 30th. I am assuming at 7 o'clock, Dr. Throsian, as well?
Right, again, Vice President Wong.
All right. Sounds good. Moving on to new business. The Great American Shakeout is October the 15th. Date of the Schools address is October the 21st at 6:30. We'll have more information going out on that to all parties as the date gets closer, I assume. And Red Ribbon Week is October the 25th through the 31st. And with that, we will adjourn the board meeting at 8:44. Good night, all.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.